Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, councillors, members of the public. Welcome to tonight's Ivan Hitton Parish Council meeting. Now, we'll start. I'll read that for housekeeping, although I'm sure you all know about that. So, there are no planned fire alarms. If the alarm should sound, please exit the building using the nearest available fire exit. Once leaving the building, please make your way to the muster point, which is located by the staff car park, and let a 35 by green sign positioned in the shrubbery. Please make yourself known to a member of staff if on duty. This meeting may be recorded. The meeting may also be recorded and broadcast in the press and members of the public. Please see Section 8 of the Guidance for Public Participation, including recording and use of social media at meetings. Do you have any apologies?
Councillor Shin.
Sure, no. Declarations of interest.
Sorry, Chairman, my apologies. Councillor Osborne actually said the apology.
To note any declarations of interest made by members in connection with an agenda item, members can specify the nature of the interest. Yes, Councillor Webster.
The item on the bus person, I have produced that and are through time, so I'm told by bus position go on.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Webster. To receive any written requests for dispensation, so grant any requests for dispensations as appropriate. Members here to community service safety update. You should have a confidential email about the police not being able to attend if they give us sort of report. Thank you. The ACSO report was attached, so trusting that everyone's read that. Okay, thank you. So now we move on to the minutes. So these are the minutes of the last meeting, which was on the 28th of January, 7 PM. So I'm just going to go through the pages. I'm not going to be fair to the pages that are on the pack. I'm just to say page 1, page 2. I'm sure we're all astute enough to work out which ones I'm talking about. So page 1, page 2, page 3. Last but not least, page 4. Now, from if appropriate to propose, whoever proposed that the minutes are correct record of the meeting, do we have a second there? Councillor Wade. Can we take a vote on that? All those in favour? Thank you very much.
That's good.
Right. Announcements from the chair. 2 announcements. One, I'm sure we're all aware that the government is going to take its decision about the unitary authorities, and that we will be part of South West Hampshire, linked with Eastleigh, Southampton, New Forest areas of Tottenham, and Ealing, Marchwood, Ivor, Dibden, Hawley, and Test Valley areas of Valley Park, Chilworth, and Nursling and Rounds. Although New Forest District Council will cease to exist, Ivor, Dibden Council boldly be going on, and we will be a robust voice for our residents in the new arena. Second announcement is the end of year audit preparations. The council has received a notification of the financial year audit requirements. As a result, over the next 2 weeks or so, the senior office will be busy preparing the information required by the internal and external auditors. Members may notice that emails to inquiries from members are not responded to as quickly as normal while the work is going on. However, if a member is a matter of urgency, please contact either the clerk or the deputy clerk by telephone. Thank you for your understanding. Reports by county and district members. So, Councillor Wade is going to give his county reports and its district report because of these additional information to add to the LGR announcements. The floor is yours.
Right, well, and it's interesting because both of these reports have got budgets, and they have the rest of the impact on the LGR issue. But Hampshire County Council first, I have the 26th budget administrative was overseen by the council. It did not raise council tax a number of years in the past, and this has a significant impact on the council's finances going forward. The problem that it faced is that whilst it's cut over £560 million, the children's services, health services, IRS, all of the budgets have been slashed by 40% originally. They didn't take into account the rising costs. And I've said, I won't read exactly the basic list, but basically the 26-27 now 136 million black hole, which they are going to cover with savings and budget and reserves. The remainder of the savings for the 27-28 deficit, which is even bigger, even with every penny they've got, selling the family silver, as I speaking, using all the reserves, they're still going to $70 million black hole. Unless the government provides money, they will be issuing a 114 notice. It means they cannot balance the budget. Now, there is been sent a Hampshire County Council leader has written to the government. The chief financial officer has written all of them with the same thing, the same message, that they need support from the trouble. Hold that forward because this impacts the minute. Now, the New Forest District Council is different. Its finances are in a better place. The budget confirmed that council tax will increase by £2.9% net maximum, increasing to £211.92 per pound for the property. The Assistant Director has explained the Council the Flowers General Fund budget 26-27, including the budget from 26 million. The medium-term forecast was a 3.4 deficit, but it explained that additional income through extra 1.4 million EPR money, as well as an additional 1.9 million from fees and charges, and fractional income growth and positive movement of pension contributions. Basically, all this means they're not looking deficit. Now they've got cash coming in. And one of the things that they do every year, which is not many councils do this, they will take something in the region of £1.5 million from general funds, which payments tends to happen, put it in their capital fund instead of borrowing money. Well, we're not going to do that now for the next 3 years because they're not getting as much money from the government. Now, I attended a number of various meetings which I've put in the book, I won't go through them again. But one of them, and this again impacts this, on the place of sustainability, they produced an agenda item on the economic development strategy, saying a great place to be was with loads of money, with all policies, it's all fantastic. So I reminded them, if our economy is so good, why are 1 in 5 children in statistical poverty? Because that means that they are from school meals. That means that we are there to deprivation equal to 10% of the country pockets of deprivation. Why is how can our economy do so well if the people are not benefiting from it and that? It's said, what can't we think about? Make a step, that's a good point, right? Because they're not looking at it realistically, they're looking at it from their very narrow viewpoint. The reason I've raised this, and I won't go to the whole because I will set them out, is that we now know an LGR. As you said, Sherman, we are going with the Southampton East Link horizon to be Southwest Hampshire. Now, this is the most complicated process, and I've said this before, in government. I had a prearranged meeting there today anyway with the assistant, it's not assistant, the deputy chief executive. And the chief executive came and explained to me, did you know? I said, yes, I knew, because I contacted somewhere else. And they're mortified. First of all, the fact of LGR itself was massive. But they've got to have LGR in all that complexity twice up. Because they're in effect, half the district is going with Southampton Eastleigh, and the other half is going with Enhanced Winchester. So all the arrangements of contracts, moving them over, is probably going twice as much. Because, for instance, the Hardy Depot, which is brand new there, only serves the water side. So Applemore and the Tottenham Leisure Centre will be in Thistle, we're in the Southampton Eastleigh unitary, but all the other leisure centres, they need to melt, and they will be with the other one. So it's having one agreement with the representatives, you have two. So this is a massive amount of extra work. The New Forest District Council is already shedding staff. People are leaving, some of them quite senior, and they're having to recruit. But they recognise that the amount that is always going to be challenging running the day job and doing LGR to a new council. They're in effect having to do LGR twice. They've got the worst team of anywhere in Hampshire because of the volume. So that is going to cause a problem. And I said, how are you going to do this? And one ruthless prioritising. I firmly believe there will be a point where they won't be able to do all the things they're supposed to, statutory things they could. So the other things they're trying to do, and things that have been cut, because they just can't put information. Now, there's two more points to raise. The process for changing is a bit complicated. I'm talking about the governance now. Because if we were going with one unitary, a committee will be set up. The council members from the county districts in the areas that together, right? If we were just at the whole of the New Forest was going to Southampton and Eastleigh, the Eastleigh councillors, the district, Southampton city councillors, New Forest councillors. But we're not. We're going with two. So we've got one committee for the west, on the water side. And you'll be pleased to know that the water side has a Liberal Democrat majority councillors that are insisted that there should be strong representation from him. And this is important. This is important to work with. This interim committee doesn't have a lot of power, but it oversees some of the changes between the new sheriff authority, which is going to be elected next year, and what the district does now, because this is it senior government. So, touch wood, there should be some representation, but we can get it through. Touch wood. It's not official. So, that is something that will come out in the next week or so. The governance arrangements for the new unitary will not be made known to after the county elections. There are two options: 2-member ward for county division, 3-member ward for county division. So we've got this little subcommittee set up, and we've got the governance in the company. The two big issues that are really important, and one of them really affects this council wide, is that when because the New Forest has been split, it's really important that resources, support, is evenly distributed between the two parts. Because you could forget them for thinking that an administration where the majority of councillors come from the west would try and take the family silver over there. Obviously, well, that's not. We must make sure that doesn't happen. And the other thing is that in the discussions with the new unitary and the transition is to make sure that the water side is stood up, because we don't want to be we are not going to be swallowed by another unitary. We're not going to be part of Southampton. The message we need to give out now we're in this position is a new authority, new officers, new members, and it won't be the same. I won't use the word I don't use the same people running the Southampton councils are running now. And that I'm really sure if you look at the political dynamic. But the important thing is that we stand up for each side. And we as a parish council, we will be the cement between the new unitary, the dying district and parish, and our residents. And we're still going to be. And we need to make sure that our voice as a parish council is heard in any negotiations, anything that is challenged. We want to make sure that we have it in place. So we've got to be focused on anything when we get the opportunity to have an input, because that's important for us.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wade. So now we're going on to report for the district members. If I go clockwise around the table.
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Todd.
Thank you, Chair. It may seem after the announcement as if this isn't relevant, but actually plans in place transition to whatever new authority is in place. So we are continuing to have local plan working group meetings. We had a briefing from the Commission's Economic Viability Report, Three Dragons. The basic message was that the general situation is more challenging now than during the last local plan period. On the 4th of March 2026, I attended one of the cabinet meetings. It's a difficult area to gain trust of people involved, but the number of responses to the consultation on domestic violence was very low, and no responses from people under the age of 35. I asked about how the domestic abuse strategy worked with our local parish community safety officers, where we have really effective coordination with the police. That wasn't apparent in the strategy. Housing landlord antisocial behaviour strategy. It's understandable that the main focus is on council tenants, but there needs to be a greater understanding of the impact of antisocial behaviour in the wider community, particularly neighbours of tenants who may live in private or non-council premises. As councillors, these situations can be the most challenging to resolve. On the 6th of March, I attended the licensing committee. The committee considered the proposal to raise taxi licensing fees for 2026-2027. Fees have been raised above the inflation rate previously, but objections to a second above inflation rise were noted but did not affect the majority decision. On the 11th of March, I attended the planning committee. No Hythe Dipton applications were in agenda. 23rd of March 26, another local plan working group meeting. We heard evidence from the public consultation. There were around 1,000 responses to the public consultation. Main concerns were flooding, housing numbers, environmental impact, infrastructure, and settlement coalescing. That concludes my district report, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Alston.
On the budget, I won't repeat what Malcolm said, but our Lib Group did propose amendments to the budget focusing on local matters that impact our resident businesses, such as best start hubs, the health pass, youth hubs, community mall spaces, business rate relief incentives, and car parking charges. Impact review, well costed, and certainly didn't have a negative impact on NHTC spending, and would have supported the corporate plan priorities of the council. Unfortunately, Brewing Group voted it down and talked down the amendments, which I'll be honest with you, I found a real shame, as it's the last year NFDC will have full control of budget decisions and provide valuable support from our residents, as you've heard. The promenade, NFTC advised High Promenade should be open, or as I wrote this, but it is open. Contractors were on site last week and on Monday, with all the choices prepared on the right hand side of the prom, which is where the slope access and mobility and pram access. This comes as NFTC works to improvements, including the seating parking and getting open for school holidays and better weather. Again, when I wrote it, the weather was nice. High Police Station, I've written to the relevant planning officer for clarification on what the next steps to check this application, as it states that an undetermined decision has been made and the status is an appeal to be proceeded and awaiting start date. I note that also there's been a review of the cricket balls reaching the proposed new homes, and consideration of the developer providing a net between the sites. However, I have had further updates. However, I have gone back and asked what I can and cannot share publicly and also to the members. This is a public meeting. Any information I'll share privately first, before I get clarification from the planning officer, and we begin with that application. I attended Resources Transformation Scrutiny Panel, and we have the quarterly KPIs. I've asked for additional reporting on staffing matters, with challenges over role security and future staff with the LGR around the corner. The chair of the committee felt it wasn't relevant, and I disagreed, with LGR and transformation falling under this panel. There was a 13.1% staff turnover in the last 12 months, and the 25-26 target remains unchanged instead. Long-term sickness stays are rising month by month, and only 18 out of 25 vacancies being filled first time. Leaving staff feedback is generally positive, but leavers are now providing varying reasons rather than simply retirement, including career progression, which supports what Councillor McWade said. We have an update on NFTC's plans for LGR managing the process. Again, I wrote this before. There's a lot of internal work and fellow council work to ensure services are aligned and managed over to the new unitary authority. Since that meeting, they've doubled up, but there's a huge amount of ongoing work. Officers assigned to each project in first, second, third levels of the council. I imagine that they are deeply concerned and that will be doubled up based on today. NFTC has a new net call service which began recently. Based in AI call service, and it's had a very positive beginning with the following outcomes. Exceptionally smooth go live completed on 5:30 on Saturday. There was 84% of calls were answered in 3 minutes, which exceeded its SLA, and no complaints reported. Significant improvement in customer wait times, with the average time to answer reduced, dropping by 15 seconds, and improved first time resolution. Transfers between departments reduced by 13%. It's built around intelligent routing activity, diverting non-NFTC inquiries, such as their National Park and HCC, and 242 successful detections. This is all part of how they're building their customer platform. They've also built the CRM platform and AI-generated summaries to make everything on one system, make it easier and more connected to the council. For information, from April onwards, the 26-27 grant budgets for NFTC councils will go live again, an opportunity for up to 1k grant funding from local members to local causes. Consultations. NFTC are reviewing their draft updated allocations policy and would like feedback. The revised policy is designed to ensure that homes are allocated fairly, and very common NFTC council issue, I can tell you, relevant to local needs and wider housing possibility. There is a link in my report, I emailed around, as there is for review of the homelessness and rough sleeping strategy. Again, the new strategy sets out 5 priorities preventing removing homelessness and ending rough sleeping and investing in accommodation. I also completed the NFTC spatial site strategy, shared by concerns of allocated sites, wider provision and mitigation of housing sites, and lack of accessible affordable housing, transport for our communities, among other matters. You will see I mentioned the ferry about 8 times. On Weedens, any inquiries about the new service have not answered by letters and leaflets they've received. Please use the website, which provides online forms, how to appeal waste container assessments, through request changes. You can also make contact for assisted collections, which not everyone knows about. And, you know, we've got certain areas in our house, like very steep hills for older people living there. And it's please raise this with them. And we're receiving a lot of casework on this matter, particularly from Marina. Wheelie bins are being delivered now to South Waterside, and we will receive soon. Please use the waste changes mailbox for customer services to report any issues. And again, flooding, highways, antisocial behaviour, litter, housing, for casework issues at the moment.
Very much. I appreciate it, Councillor Wade. So, now we're going to move on to reports from outside bodies.
Chairman, I'd like to work the moment.
what more could I possibly add? That's why I tend to go last, because everyone else covers all the bases and I will fill in anything they didn't. I mean, as councillors, we did go to a briefing of the A326. Councillor Dowd.
Thank you. I'd like to report on the meeting on the 17th of February. I had with parish officer and the district council officers and the environment agency. It was confirmed that there are unlikely to be any major projects in either Dipton of 2026 or any time soon. We have agreed to have an on-site meeting in late April or early May to discuss the specific flooding and revetment problems. Moving on to the Waterside Climate Action Network, water testing training has now been undertaken by the first members of the group, who will now be able to train other Waterside Climate Action Network members. We hope to be able to test a number of locations in Hythe, Dibden and the Waterside. Funding for the resources has been allocated by Councillor Malcolm Wedley. Thank you, Chair.
Any other reports from outside bodies? Okay. So, now we go to the public forum. Coming back to Councillor Clarkson, the two panels I should have been on, unfortunately, I was unable to make, which is why I didn't make a contribution. Public forum to any written questions I know you've got office in order to send in English. Okay. So we move then on to councillors to take brief questions from councillors. I do believe Councillor Jones had a hand up first.
Okay.
Alex, are you aware that I have had confirmation from the waste team that I am not to leave my bins on the edge of my garden, or my next door neighbour's garden, or the next door neighbour's garden? I'm entitled to leave my bins out on the public highway on the footpath there all day, because she knows I leave at 7 in the morning and I don't come home sometimes until 6 or 7. So apparently that's completely acceptable.
I'm not aware, not even happy with this or not, because you're turning the voice about it.
I just thought it was, it was, if that, they say it to me, then there'll be lots of footpaths and we're going to have exactly the same problems that there are all over Croydon with other people trying to navigate vision bins.
No, it wasn't, thank you.
Councillor Mark.
I've got two questions. Are you aware, that the March was closed off on the 24th and there was no work? The reason is, because I queried this with the engineer, it was on holiday. What it basically says, there was a communication issue between their contractor and the contractor's road closing contractor. So the road closing contractor came in a day early. They should have come in on the 24th when they came in to start work. But that is actually that's in March. So that's why they shut it. And that's not the first time that's happened. So that's that. The second one is a German aware that the Reading rollout NFDC has not been quite as successful as they planned. The strategy was they would start in Tottenham, then go southwards through Hythe, Berkshire, Hythe, Dibden, and finish in South Waterside. Well, I don't know. I was out in Hythe today and I found some wheelie bins on Cedar Road. I know for a fact that they have them in Holborn and they also have a few in Tottenham. So this has gone completely pear-shaped. So I raised this with the assistant chief executive, and he said, we'll be holding on to the contract because they want to put their own resources on to get them delivered. Because there's a worry they won't get them delivered before start. And I also raised about waste advisors. You may not be parents too, but I also raised about waste advisors because they are not necessarily as skillfully articulate in dealing with some of the issues that have been raised by residents. I did quote some who is aware of that, and they are, and the authorities are aware of that, and they're going to try and find them a little better. But if you think about it, they brought nuclear, they're not very this, and it has to do with job. But the example is the marina, because if you go by the marina, it's lovely, flat, and a lot of bins there, can't. But the properties don't own the land. There is a resolution set by, I won't say what that is at the moment. But they're all the case. But there are other areas, pockets areas in our community, or Kensington Fields, where the houses, small houses on top of each other, you can't expression. But they don't own the land, and someone else owns the car park. So you can't put bins there. So there has to, NFDC has to be arrangements with the ownership of the land. It's quite a lot more complicated, than you would first thought. There are issues in places like Oak Road, Talbot Road, where there's no pavements, similar sort of situation. There are places where you have bins all over the place. They're going to have extra engagement with members and probably council over this issue.
So any hope that we thought they would have learned lessons from phase 1 and 2 seems to be detached.
Well, they've worked out that if you've got roving animals, you've got to keep your own tests, but that's not necessarily as big an issue for them.
This doesn't go far. Also, Webster.
Yeah, I know that everyone is aware, very welcome news that Hyde Pier will be reopening from Tuesday to Saturday next week, from there to the end of next week, after a period of semi-closure. I know this because the pier owner issued a statement. The owner said in that statement, pier training will not be in operation at the site. Pier training is a major part of the attraction of Hyde Pier, and is why it's the biggest. And that would be very disappointing that we will not be able to use the train. There is no explanation as to why not. Now, the situation, as I understand it, is that the pier is leased to Hyderside very huge, Hyde Fund, our annual partners, and pier owner had permission from Frank Collins of Red Farm at the end of December to reopen the pier. That is finally happening next week. The train is leased also to the Hyde Southern Ferry Company, which is owned by Red Farm, which is owned by their partners. But it doesn't appear, the Hyde Pier Heritage Association doesn't seem to know, which actually owns the train, why the train will not be running. Does any member here know why the train isn't going to be running? And if there's anything on what needs to happen to get that train run, because that will draw people back to time. It's very important we do that as quickly as possible. And if there's anything we can do to smooth it progress and to make clear how important that is, we should do it. But firstly, does anyone know why it's on? It's a genuine question. I don't know.
Is anyone able to answer it?
Is it due to the fact that the train operators are paid for by and therefore they're not prepared to pay?
The Heritage Association, so
I don't know.
I would say as the representative at HPHA, although I think I imagine this item, among others, will be discussed when they have their next meeting, which I've been told. But I think it might be relevant to what Commission's Red Fund. I think the discussion has to come from, as I understand it, from the fund. And as you engage in that organisation to any organisation, it's not cycle. But as I say, it's H3 I imagine among others will look at that. But yeah.
Thank you.
And I do share concern. I put them together in one. Really. So if a visitor wants to get out of there, so see the train.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Webster. Thank you for your answer, Councillor. Any other further questions? Councillor
you're aware, Chairman, that I submitted an FOI to the Southern Central People's Race response times in our area. based on the fact that it controls the budget. Well, first of all, they don't have any information behind the different water side. They don't collect the data because apparently agencies don't often move from here to go to court.
Do not go from here to what, sorry?
The words they're quoting to me, because they don't, as a general rule, have ambulances going to patients from the station, unless it's the first call of the day. Okay, anyway, they said they actually were incident, and they admitted that ambulance response times for grade 1 and grade 2 in New Forest are longer than ambulance response times for grade 1 and 2 in the whole of the rest of the area. So there is a different ambulance people written to me with views about what's going on. But I and our MP, Sir Judith Lewis, from the 12th of June, are going to Otterbourne to meet with the stars, Southern Central Ambulance people to discuss this, because when we had the 3.5 years of Roman books in the 1866, which is has been in the offing, there will be considerable disruption. If they move their ambulance base to nursing, that will make the response times even longer. So it is a serious issue, and they haven't provided the data to prove that the response times will be negatively affected during this period. So what I'm saying, it sounds, listen, the ambulance crew and the paramedics do an absolutely fantastic job. Well, we cannot very truly give an answer to them. But the operating system they run, I think, well, that might be reviewed, because it certainly doesn't seem to work for New Forest as well as it does. Because their view is, if they put ambulances near a population centre, they can get to them quicker. But what about the people in the more rural areas?
Thank you for your investigations, Councillor. Councillor Halsway.
Yeah, I've got two. One is the chairman aware that there have been reports of private paid for parking signs going up at Frampton Court Hotel? Anything that happens in Frampton Court Hotel piques interest, understandably so. But I have written to the NFDC and I've asked the planning enforcement team to investigate, because you have to make a request for that within planning authority and contact the relevant team. And it will all likely go ahead, but you have to put in an application through to the local authority, and to my understanding they haven't. So I believe one of the planning officers will investigate that. They sent me a letter today regarding that. So they engage transport. My second point is, Malcolm also can answer this. I'm guessing that NFDC won't be fined in any capacity for not collecting food waste before 31st of March deadline, because I certainly won't have food waste deadline then, and I doubt you will. But as your place is
I thought it's the end of May is the cut.
it's reaching March 31st.
Yes, it's now in the May.
Okay.
And also there are some districts in Hampshire that are not really looking at food waste collected to September.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you. Is the chairman aware that there is an opportunity, golden opportunity, to secure funding in May for a safe crossing just south of Hampton Roundabout, which has been proposed by Hampshire County Council for several years and designed. It will be a single control crossing almost opposite the road that goes past Hampton Moor Leisure Centre, and it would enable people to get safely across to the forest side, which will become even more important in pending parking charges, because people will want to walk if they can, or cycle rather than pay to park in the forest. The reason there is this opportunity is that Malcolm Wade, who's very regular, is great support for this crossing over a number of years, secured an answer last month from Hampshire County Council, in which they said that they had applied for strategic SIL funding to build that crossing. The crossing was originally due to be co-funded by Fawley Waterside. When Fawley Waterside removed their application for 1,500 homes, that funding fell away, and the scheme has effectively been orphaned since then with no funding. for reasons only known to Hampshire County Council, that crossing was not included in the A326 so-called improvement scheme. Several others were, only one of which is of marginal benefit to our community, our parish. That's the one just south of the Dibden roundabout, St. Road. The adult crossing would be used by 10 times as many. It would be extremely popular. When it's finally, people will wonder, a bit like, how come they ever allow smoking on planes? Why wasn't it there years ago? But the key thing is for NFDC members around here, that Malcolm's email, I'm very happy to put at the top of your inbox again, showed there is a cabinet meeting scheduled for May at NFDC to decide on the application of strategic facility. So this is a great opportunity to, and I know what can be done, who is involved in cabinet meetings, what lobbying or representations can be made. But it's a great opportunity for NFDC members if they would be so willing to support.
Thank you for that statement. Councillor Wade, I don't know.
Thank you for that point. It is something I've been pushing for a long time. I raised the question, why is it in A326? And they said, no, the A326 scheme, which is up there, nothing to do with things more marginal, actually. But this is tapped to for water. I think the suggestion is a good one. Problem is, Hampshire County Council probably needs to put the application in to get the money. Although the money is held by NFDC, this has come up before, held by NFDC, Hampshire is the as a highway authority will have to put it in. Now, and actually, I will write to Hampshire about that again, because it's a good point actually. Because they are NFDC sitting a lot.
I just clarify what I'm going to say. Sorry. In the email to Hampshire County Council stated that they had submitted a bid to NFDC for strategic community infrastructure levy fund, proposed a new signalised crossing out.
How long ago was that? Not the email,
we'll
they proposed it.
I'll send you back.
Yeah, because
I don't know when this is bid, but the email to you from the relevant team at Hampshire County Council was the further.
What I'll do is I'll write to clarify that. You send that to me, I'll write it back.
Okay.
And we can all try and write to NFDC to Tim Giant.
Give that your people council.
No, what I was going to say was I'll copy all district members in. If you could then actual support to that email, it might have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Justin. I was just going to make a very simple basic point. The cabinet meetings at the district are public meetings. There is a public gallery and there is a space for members of the public to speak. It's a very, very rare occasion when someone from the public turns up to one of the meetings. But you do have that opportunity as with any public meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Right. Any more questions? Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on. We're looking at item 10, which is the Hampshire Action Bus Group to consider support on the campaign Vision for a Better Bus Future. Vision statements attached. We'll all have this in our agenda pack. Assuming everyone's ready. And to reassure supportive statements. Councillor Dowell.
I'm very happy to support this statement. I think I made very clear noticing my disappointment with Hampshire County Council's response, particularly when the government scheme was to support rural bus services, and unfortunately the strategy that Hampshire County Council adopted was not a rural bus scheme. It was supporting bus services that are already running and successful. So I think this really helps to bring this issue right across the forest. The waterside may not be considered rural to some, but if you live in the south waterside, you can't rely on bus services. If you live in parts of Branchwood, and if you live in either Dibden and work in those areas, it's almost impossible to use the bus services to get to work. Thank you, Jack.
So, I'll explain how to get this 100 first.
Yeah, I think the term bus deserts is bang on. This again got mentioned a lot in our local plan comments because, you know what, if I want to have a day out, I can get a job in Livingston or Lyndhurst, drive or walk, isn't it really? So it is shocking. And so many communities are left effectively isolated with no access outside of a car, you know, Oldham, Bewley. We cannot go from the waterside to the national park without a car on our doorstep. It is a disgrace. The 112 barely exists. That used to be how I used to get to work when I worked in Livingston briefly many years ago. And with no train and the ferry, you know, TBC at the moment, I completely support this vision because if with all the additional people moving, people coming to visit, wanting to improve the environment, the national park doing what they can to maintain a lot of nature and biodiversity. You need to find avenues so people aren't priced out for an opens up tour bus in the summer and find ways all throughout the year so people get around our districts. And I completely agree with this because, and the hospitals, I'm really grateful that I've mentioned because there are so many people who have to rely on volunteers, and these volunteers are amazing, but you shouldn't have to rely on volunteers for the basic need of going to the hospital and having access. So I'm all for this. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Councillor Malcolm, how did we get?
Yeah, Chairman, I want to be faithful with positive stuff people said that is very good. We should support it, and we should as a parish promote it because it's right. There is a reasonable bus service north to south along the side. Across the forest, it's non-existent. Right, and until we have proper public transport, people living in private cars. So, it's certainly, and actually probably even better into Southampton. So I'll fully support it. I propose that we do so support this, and we agree it's a supportive statement that can be utilised to the best degree to this.
Before we move on, I know Councillor Webster declared interest. I'd just like to say my thanks for bringing this to our attention, Councillor Webster, and you had a big influence in you. So, any more? Okay, so, Councillor Webster.
So I just want to add the following. In the worthwhile, with our support statement, so seeking what the response is from our town and parish councils along the A56 and around the area, maybe, I don't know, collective support, or is that too onerous?
Just a quick heads up, Alex. It took me 3 weeks to get 2 signatures for a letter to scan to my neighbouring parishes. 3 weeks.
I'll shut them.
No, not sure. I just, they're all busy, I think, this time of year. As you can do it, but it might take.
That's fair.
So I don't know, Professor, about the agree with your supportive statement.
You can send me your ideas, and we can formulate one. And it's like them as I will liaise with Councillor Webster to come up with something that's suitable. Okay.
I'm very happy to put that forward, and other people can decide on this. Just on the point you mentioned, it's okay to say it's about approaching other councils. Right? That's actually in hand.
Okay, cool.
We know that Marshall's is likely to be supported. They really will deal
They do.
with staff. So, thank you.
So I'm assuming we can do these as 2 separate parts. We can read the mission statements.
Yeah.
And then we'll do supportive statements as attached.
Yeah, if I liaise with Councillor Webster, we'll come up with something and then we'll circulate it to all members. And then if there's any objections, members raise them with me. And we can go from there. We just submit.
Okay. Very mindful that the statements I made earlier on that the officers are very busy, so let's not inundate them. Okay. So I do believe Councillor Howard was proposing that we.
I am very happy to propose. Okay.
So we've got a proposal with a second for 10A. All those in favour of 10A? Thank you very much. It's carried. Okay. So moving on to civility and respect. So to receive details of a joint campaign by the National County Associations of Local Councils and the Society of Local Council Players to promote civility and respect. And the obviously the link was there, I'm sure we've all followed it and looked at it. And would you like to make it?
No, it's straightforward. It's a national campaign. A number of councils nationwide have signed up, and it's my duty to you to see if we would like to support it.
Right, so I've already signed it. We do have a code of conduct anyway, and I can't see very much difference between this and what's in our code of conduct. So it would seem improbable that we couldn't sign this. I'm trying to express any alarms.
Yes, if you agree, I can get these signatures as soon as possible. Then we add our with details. Yeah, that'll have to do details to do. We get a little flag on the map. And just massive one.
Right.
Right.
So if you'd like to, I'm not behaving like it's a classroom exam paper to like. So you could sign and hopefully no one made the mistake that I did. You know, it's not this off not reading the exam paper. What did I do? I went and signed where it should have been dated.
No one will see these. These are my evidence.
Thank you for that. Councillor Wade.
Just quick question: do we need to get them from the members that are in it, or is it just through to those that are here?
I will circulate to the members that are not here. It'd be nice to have a photos.
Anyway, I propose that we've done it. So I propose A, B, C.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Councillor Wade. You will be figuring out the members who are in at the moment. Thank you for that. Okay, so now.
I propose A, B, C.
Okay, so we have a second favour.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone in favour, A, B, C? Thank you.
I know what made the paper plan.
Thanks for showing the board. It's super.
So now on to Parish Hall. To receive information about the planned film festival, to agree to waive the Parish Hall hire fee for 1 day. It's in your.
Just like to say to if I may, everybody's very short reports is there. There's nothing to add to it, but I looked it up. It's a brilliant idea.
Definitely. As we know, the Parish Hall will be refurbished, so it'll be a great chance to showcase it exactly. So, thank you very much. So, the recommendation is to use the Parish Hall on the 21st of April for an independent film festival. The cost will waive the fee of £75 based on the average film. So you've got the report there. Is there anyone who'd like to make any comments? Short comments? Absolutely.
Absolutely all for this. It's creative art that should be appreciated. There's not enough opportunities, and it used to be a big focus by NFDC working film even several years ago. It's somewhat died. But the previous council, he was on back and stepped away. So I think this will encourage in our community some local film creators who we have seen in around Shaw recently filmed the zombie film. You might have seen on Facebook. So I think it's a fantastic idea. I have a lot of people interested so much.
Great. So, would anyone like to make a proposal? Councillor Coates. Yes, second. Okay, so we've got a proposer and a seconder that we support the Independent Film Festival. All those in favour? It's carried. Thank you. The Grove. So you see the brief verbal we update regarding the Roseland Grove.
After that.
Thank you.
Just to let members know, the asbestos removal in the cellar has now taken place. If anybody came round the building while it was taken on, we probably noticed that it took a lot longer than the originally thought. And they took an extra 3 days to say that. Because of the delay on that, we've had a little bit of a delay with the structural engineer. However, I'm happy to confirm that the structural engineer will be attending on 14th of April to carry out the survey work. And that's it at the moment.
Thank you very much. Item 13B, which is to receive an update on the condition of the remaining flagpole and to consider the purchase of 2 new flagpoles. Because it's attached there, I don't think the officers don't put waiting on. You don't need to add anything to this. And the board read the report. So really what we need to know is, do we support this? Councillor Malcolm?
I have at least 1 to 2 residents who make the report write to me when we're not covered flat there. So I will propose that we do replace the flagpole because it is really a significant significant anyway to the rest of the residents of our community. And please find the flags.
That's what I was going to do.
My question is, with the works that are going to be planned in the future on the Grove, we need on the Grove and areas in the Brook, are these works going to have to be redone again when we work on it, or it can be worked around, or is it a different area? Are we effectively doubling up the work that we have to do now?
No, the area where the flags go is in front of Western Park. That is the part of the roof that doesn't touch whatsoever.
Thank you.
2 flags with civil respect. I just wonder whether we still try the national teams back later in the year. We did that actually. It's one of the only ones that we still do. Yes, we did it. So we got the flags. We still have it.
What sort of flag is it?
Merchant Steve. Team.
Yeah.
They can see the ship up, ship's crew. So that awesome. They saw it. So
Yeah, the other one that you tend to do is Commonwealth.
yeah. Okay, we've got flags for that. Yeah, that's what I'm sorry for that. That's
Right, so do we have a code then? Yeah, we have. How is it? Right, so and we have a second.
Yeah.
All those in favour support the purchase of the flagpole? Yes. Thank you. Any against? All against? Thank you so much. So it's carried. Moving on to section 14, which is what we know is the highlights of the evening. And then you've all covered over these figures and salivated before. Let's get on with this. So we've got the bank reconciliation. We're going to have to do these individually.
Yeah, the bank has just received the chairman.
Okay, so we see you to go on from there. We can receive the bank reconciliation. Thank you very much.
Approve the pay and the fees.
So the paid expenditure, are there any questions about the paid expenditure? Because when you look at it, you think, wow. And the officers will be able to answer. Okay, so I take it that that's that. So is there anyone prepared to say they approve the paid expenditure? Also, that, which goes away a second. Anyone? Did you like to pay? All those in favour? It's paid expenditure. To approve the end of the year transfer for 25-26 budget code underspends to earmark reserves attached, also to attach copies of financial capacity and a list of the earmark. Can you remind me, because I'm a bit dumb, what's the earmark?
Earmark reserves.
I know, I knew what this would think about it, I thought, that's just answer that question. It's a safety question.
Absolutely. Question to the officers. Obviously the underspends and the limited mark reserves are the amounts and how we're doing each of the incoming and outgoings in the report. Are they as expected? Are we happy? Better than expected? Less than expected? Overall, how do we all the challenges that we have?
Be pretty snapshot. The earmark reserves, as you know, that's our savings costs for the projects. So, yes, all I need is approval to move them to the earmark reserves. On first look, there will be an underspend this year. I get the financial comparison there. For the first time in my professional degree, we have a large underspend on trees. Yeah, I know. It's a significant underspend too. Wages is an underspend because we had a meetings assistant post vacant for 7 months. We've had a member of the office team who's reduced their hours. So that's quite significant underspend. And throughout the budget, there are some underspends. Some of them have been done purposely because we have some challenges coming, as you possibly can tell. And we've had additional income over the budget, 90k.
Wow.
So, you know, it's a VAT we claim in. We've had significantly better on bank interest than we budgeted for. Road changes up. So it's not been leading. So there will be underspends. We're working through, we'll start work shortly on the end of the year. I will be meeting the chair and vice chair of GPNF to outline where we are actually receiving some inputs about their members may like them to spend together. And I'll keep you updated through April, May council meetings, the council meetings that are scheduled. Thank you very much.
So,
You said about, there's no spend on trees.
Yes, there is.
So, the thought is to have the underspend going to unmarked reserves.
If members agree, it will go into the general budget.
Well, the other thing is, having some communities, I'm very aware of how expensive tree work is. I was just wondering if it could be able to carry over the tree underspend.
It can, it will need to be a council decision.
Yeah.
Shall be made, I think. Yeah, no. There will be money, and it will be up to members to tell or to decide where that money goes. You know, and members will be informed of what our potential issues are over the next 12 months. But members make the decision. So yeah, the review is us.
So, start of all this was to approve the end of year transfers for the earmarked reserves. So, we've had some questions, hope we've had some answers. Hopefully you feel satisfied enough to someone to propose that we accept Councillor Clements. We have a second now.
I'll second.
Councillor Beebe. All those in favour? Anyone against? Yes. Okay, so do you bring us to the end? I would say it's one of my favourite comedians, Dave Allen, used to say, "May your God go with you."
Isn't it? Thank you.